Hello, hello. We should be live now. Sorry, I was trying to figure out the light situation. It's like the one day it's raining here and it's really dark outside. Hello. How you guys doing? How's it going? Thanks for being here. I know this is a little bit last minute. I know I said a while ago it would be the end of September, but I never set a date. But hopefully we can get some people here. Hey, Sam Bourbon, how's it going? How's your cat? Speaking of cats, Max just came in. Hey, Monroe, how's it going? Tiffany, thanks for being here, guys. I'm excited too. I've been looking forward to this. We're just going to go with the flow. If you have any questions or anything you want to talk about, I'm going to let you guys lead the way. I did have some people sending questions on Instagram too that I can answer for people who can't be here for the live. But yeah, figured we could just chat, hang out. Mel's doing great. She's always so cute on your Instagram stories. Well, now she's gone. She'll come back. Thank you. Felt like very fall right now. I'm very excited. It's like the first day all year, not all year, but in months that it's been like relatively cold here. I'm so excited for fall weather. We've still been having like 80 degrees, 90 degrees every day, and it's just not felt like fall. And suddenly I've forgotten everything I wanted to know about the book. Yeah. I forgot everything that happened in the book, so same page. Thank you. I just got it done today. I was nervous. I went to a new salon and a new stylist, but I think she did a good job. It's a lot shorter. It's a lot darker. I'm happy with it. Do you feel a lot of pressure with book 2, especially hearing everyone begging for it? I mean, yeah, I want it to be good, but it's pretty much done, thankfully. I think if I were trying to write it right now, it wouldn't be going very well, which is kind of what I expected to happen, which is why I was trying to write it before all of this. But yeah, pressure because people liked the book, and also this book just kind of blew up more than I was expecting in this first month. It's been out a month, and this book is already my best-selling book of all of my books, even of the books that came out in 2018 and like over a year ago. It's already sold more than all of those in a month, which is, I mean, amazing, but also overwhelming. So now people are excited for book 2, and there's also a lot more people who want to read book 2 than who usually read my books. So it's a good problem to have, but it's also very nerve-wracking. I'm so stoked for it to get cold. Me too. I want the leaves changing and everything. Fall is my favorite season, and it only lasts for like 2 weeks where I live, and then it starts to snow. So I'm going to enjoy every possible moment of it. It's never fall in Texas. Yeah. Yes, love to see the success. Makes me so happy. Makes me nervous, but yeah, very grateful for it. Hello, Nancy. Thanks for joining us. I'm in New Hampshire, and it's 44 degrees out. So you guys are already like getting into winter here. I love the fall here. Where are you? Sorry, that's like a creepy question. Where are you? That's one thing I miss about Virginia. I feel like we had very pretty falls there. Henry just heard what you said about it being your best friend. I said, that's cool. Tell her congrats. Oh, thank you, Henry. It's very nice. Well, let me know what you guys want to know. If you have any questions, if you have anything that you want to talk about, I'll check my Instagram stories as well. Oh, Iowa. It's 91 this morning. Nice. I am curious, though, how you guys read the book. Did you read it physically? Did you listen to the audiobook? Did you read via Kindle Unlimited? I would just be curious to know. That's one thing that's cool about it being in Kindle Unlimited, because instead of just seeing like how many books have been sold, I see how many pages have been read, so I have like a vague idea of how many people have actually read the book, not just bought it, but they actually read the whole thing. Question, can you tell us the prince's first impression of Belle? That's actually so funny because I wrote that scene from his point of view, actually, and I'm holding on to it. I have that as a bonus scene right now that I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet. I was actually literally talking about this in a vlog clip today. But I wrote a scene that's like a bonus scene. Like it happens in the timeline of the first book, but it's not a scene that you saw in book one because Valerie wasn't there. So it's like a little bonus scene. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll send it out as like a newsletter thing. Maybe I'll put it at the end of book two. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I do have that written. So in book two, do we get to find out some of the questions I still have? Who put the poison in the bottle? You will find out answers to many, many questions in book two. Book two is over 400 pages long. There's a lot going on in there. Should answer a lot of your questions and give you a lot more as well. Read it physically as soon as I got it. Nice. Got the ebook, Kindle Unlimited, physical book. We got a nice mix. Oh, it keeps like skipping ahead with the comments. Read it physically from Amazon. Thank you so much. Physical book. Physical seems to be popular with this one. I think that's someone mentioned in a comment on one of my videos, like a genre thing. People with fantasy tend to like the physical books. Physical and the audiobook. Love it. Love to see people get in the audiobook. I love the audiobook. That's like my favorite way to read it right now. I really enjoy the narrator. Kindle Unlimited. Streams my first viewers. Oh, thanks so much for joining us. Glad you could be here. Would you remind me how many books there are going to be? I don't know. Definitely at least 4. Possibly more than that. Probably more than that, the way it's shaping up. I'm outlining book 3 right now. And originally I was thinking I could wrap this up in book 4. I don't think I'm going to be able to. I think it's going to be longer. Physically got it early from Amazon and got review it on release day. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. The arc for the first read and then the audiobook at the same time as the physical for the second. That's my favorite way to read books, just period. Listening to the audiobook and following along in a physical book. Prime reading experience, for sure. I've been really liking to see, if you read the Kindle version, you can see like what popular highlights are. So it's been fun for me to see like what lines people liked. So I would just be curious what parts were your favorites, what were things that you liked, because I'm always surprised the things that I think are going to be people's favorites, it's not, and people like end up really clinging to things I wasn't expecting. I've never had someone see my comment. Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for being here, everybody. I know there's a lull with the comments, so trying to keep up. But the questions that we got on Instagram, I always get the same question on every book. Someone always asks why I chose to write in whatever tense that I wrote. Someone asked why I chose to write in present tense instead of past tense. I'd be curious if there's any other writers in the chat, if you have a good answer for that, like why you choose that. I feel like I never have a specific reason. Like it's not an actual decision that I make. I usually just like sit down to start writing the first chapter and it'll come out whatever way it comes out, whatever way feels naturally, and then I'll stick with it for the book. So this one just kind of felt natural. First person, present tense. I feel like the only time I would use or I would have like a specific reason why I chose that is if I had multiple points of view, then I would be more hesitant to do first person because I feel like all of the voices can kind of blend together. So then I would probably go more towards third person. But other than that, I don't usually have much of a reason other than I like it. It also has to do with genre, but I can't believe I've been watching you since 2018. You're the only YouTuber that I consistently watch. Thanks for sticking around with me. 2018. I'm trying to even remember what my content looked like back then. Probably embarrassing. I don't know. Glad you're still here. Oh, that's what I love to hear. I need somebody to cry while writing the book. Thank you. Sorry for it, but also thank you. I feel like the story dictates tense and point of view. For sure. For sure. Where was Is it weird? One of my favorite scenes was the prince asking about what she was doing in his room. That's one of my favorite scenes too. So no, I don't think it's weird. That was a fun one. Connor's whole story was sad. I don't want to give anything away. I'm so bad at like keeping secrets. I just want to like tell everybody everything. I will be curious to see what you think of Connor in book 2. I'll be curious to see. Yes, that was so ending. I've been thinking about doing something kind of fun before December. Maybe we'll post the first chapter somewhere. Like I said, I've got some bonus scenes I've been working on. So I've been trying to think of some like fun things that we can do in the meantime. I have to reveal book 3's title at some point because I need to set up the pre-order. So then we'll have to do a cover reveal for book 3. So we've got some things to happen before then. But to you, it might seem like it's far away. To me, all I see is I have a month left before my deadline, before I have to get it to my proofreader. So to me, it feels like it's sneaking up, but that's my problem. I can't control my face. So if you ask me a question and I'm trying not to spoil it, I feel like it's all over my face. The ending had me through every emotion under the sun during writing. That's what I hoped for. Thank you. Me too, while I was writing it. The ending was actually one of the first things that I knew about the book. All of the in-between stuff gave me trouble and took me a while to figure out, but the ending I always knew was going to be that. Yeah, thankfully the book, it's in a pretty good place right now. It's all of the little details and making sure the timeline adds up and all of the details are consistent. Copy editing, commas are in the right place. So we're down to the nitty-gritty. The story is what it is. But it's a long book. I think that's why it's so like overwhelming. It's about 150 pages longer than I thought it was going to be. So it's taking longer than I thought it would. Maybe I just hold grudges and I'm heartless. Can't forgive Connor. I feel like we've talked about this before, Sam. Maybe it was for like a book club vlog that we're both like very like bitter and we hold grudges against characters in books. So I'm the same way. I have a hard time. I was so heartbroken. I love to hear it. Also the snake. Everyone was asking me about the book cover and I couldn't say anything. But there you have it. That was actually the scene I was writing. If you saw my vlog on release day, I had like a flashback clip from when I was writing the book. And the day I was like, people are going to read this and be like, what is wrong with you? Like, what the heck is this? It was the day that I wrote the snake scene for the first time. We definitely have talked about this. Yeah, I don't like when characters forgive easily. That's what ruins like almost every romance book for me. They're too nice. They're too understanding. I need people to be bitter and hold grudges. Oh, interesting. I get such conflicting opinions. I have 2 main beta readers for this book or this series because they've been reading all of the books, so it's easy to just stick with the same ones. And they have such conflicting opinions about the love interests and who they prefer. So it's just always really interesting to hear which characters people get attached to. I have my own opinions. I'm trying not to make it obvious. What does your family think about the writing career? Does it run in the family? Definitely doesn't run in the family. I've got very practical family members who are in like accounting and tech stuff, but they're very supportive. My mom reads all my books. My dad's a little afraid of them. He doesn't touch them, but they're very nice about it. Is the rose on the cover significant? I got the snake, but I feel like I missed the rose. So the rose was like a couple of different things. I liked, it doesn't have like a specific thing. There is a mention in there that Valerie's sister really likes red roses. So some people have asked about that. I just kind of liked, I'm looking at a copy of the book, so I keep looking over here. I kind of liked the like contrast of like this snake and a rose and like how do those 2 things kind of go together? And then the like metal in the background. There's that on the first book and the second book, and that's a theme that carries through all of the covers. My cover designer came up with that to kind of like represent the like status of like the Marionettes and everything. That's kind of where that came from. Not in a rush way, but are you getting excited for what you have in store for book 3 with book 2 coming? Yes, yes. I've been slowly preparing more for it. I have a lot of notes. I have a loose outline. I started writing a couple of chapters the other day, so I am very much looking forward to it, but it still feels like a puzzle, and I'm still trying to figure out how all the pieces are going to fit together and where things are going to go. Weirdly enough, I usually struggle writing the second act of a book, and the middle section is where I'm struggling. But for this book, I know exactly what the middle is going to look like. Like that, I have all figured out. And the beginning and the end are where I'm still kind of fuzzy. So it's just been a really weird process so far. I'm so mad about the mind control thing during the end. He had no right to take the decision. I can't. Yeah. I'm just trying not to comment. I said on Instagram, I feel like there was this line in the book, and I was wondering if the covers represent Belle's sister. I feel like I don't have a specific answer for that. I feel like it's open for your interpretation, but yeah. I also just think it's really pretty. I also just really like the cover. I love the covers for both books. They're stunning. Thank you so much. I'll be interested to see what you guys think of the second book's cover once you read the book and you kind of get a feel for it. And yeah, I'm excited to show you book 3's cover. I like it a lot. I'm really excited to show you book 4's cover. It's my favorite of the covers, but it's going to be a while. But did he really control her? I feel like I can give you that answer. Yeah. Do you plan on writing more fantasy after this series? I've thought about it for sure. I've been kind of trying to think where I'm going to go just in general with my career after this. I don't know. I think so. I don't know. It's hard to picture what I'll do after this series because it's going to be so many books. So it's going to take years before I'm done with it. And it's just hard for me to see that far in the future. But I've been really enjoying it. So, oh my God, Paige. This is my friend Paige. How's it going? How's the dog? Multiple dogs now. If my parents let me read YA, I would read your books. Can't wait until I join into the talk about the story. I love myself love rubbing. That's the feedback I always get on the vlogs. I love hearing it. I love knowing it makes people more productive. This is so funny. We were literally, I don't know why, this made me think of it, Sam Bourbon, but Paige and I were literally just talking about we should get the podcast back together. We miss movie night. I don't know if anyone else from our old podcast group is still here, but if you were around, I guess that was a long time ago. I can't even remember the last time we did one. We used to do a podcast called, well, that's unprofessional. I need to do more live sprints. Yeah, I always like have the intention to do them, but I feel like they're more honestly they're more helpful for the other people watching them. When I'm hosting them, I'm like distracted and I'm like, I don't know. I don't get as much done when I'm hosting them as I do if I'm just working on my own, is the problem. So when I'm really busy, I don't want to do writing sprints because I'm not going to get as much done. So yeah, I'll do them again at some point, just maybe when I'm less busy. This time of year has just been crazy. Movie nights were fun. We exclusively watched bad movies together with the Netflix share. Put your videos on repeat playlist because I'm more productive with your videos. I love hearing it. Like the act of making the vlogs is what keeps me productive half the time. So it's nice hearing that. I did the Halloween movie night with The Rock in the Field. Oh my gosh, that was like a full year ago now. That movie was awful. I can't even remember what it was called. Don't remember what it was about. Series is gonna be a comfort series for me. I can't describe it, but the first book was so easy to binge. Oh, I love hearing that. Thank you. It's like my comfort series. uh, yeah, writing this series has been a very different experience than any of my other books. Like I just really enjoy it. Not that I didn't enjoy my other books, but I don't know. It was exactly what I wanted in a book. That's always the writing advice, you know, write the book that you want to read, and that's what the series is for me. It was something grass, right? Was that the movie? Is there a genre you haven't written that you would like to write? I feel like I have the opposite problem. I bounce around too much. And so with my career, I'm more like trying to focus in and start being smarter with branding and getting all of my stuff together. So I think I want to narrow in. I still really like writing contemporary, and then I have this like paranormal stuff. And then there's so many subgenres within each one. I feel like I can get away with like branching out a little bit. So like I'm working on a romantic suspense that I would ideally like to have come out after Wicked Souls, but before book 3 in this series. So it's still like a contemporary romance, but has some more like thriller elements in it. So I don't know if there's any genres outside of the contemporary broad category and like paranormal broad category that I want to stick in. But I don't even know if that answered the question. In the grass, in the tall grass, I think is what it was called. Did you plan for this to be a series from the start? Yes, yes, absolutely. How many books? No idea, but definitely planned for a series. Favorite side character? I do love Monroe. You know what's really funny? I like completely blacked out and forgot about this. I wrote a book in November of 2019. So I wrote the Marionettes in NaNoWriMo for 2020, I think. And the year before that, I wrote a different book that has never seen the light of day, and you'll never read it. And I just knew I was never going to do anything with it. So the characters, Kirby and Monroe, were actually in that book from 2019. And I liked their characters so much that I pulled them out of that book and put them in here. So that's where those characters came from. They were actually in a totally different book, totally different genre originally. And I liked both of them so much that I brought them over. But other side characters in this series, I ended up really liking Daniel. You're going to see a lot more of him in book 2. He surprised me. I ended up really liking him. That's it. Into the Tall Grass. That's the movie. If anyone wants to go watch a questionable movie on, I think it was on Netflix. Does writing your own books make you a better editor? I think it does. At least in the way that I'm able to talk to and interact with my clients. It's like I get what they're going through. I know where they're coming from. And I don't know. I just feel like it adds another side to it. Like if you're an editor and you don't write your own books, not that you can't do it. There are plenty of editors who don't write. I just feel like it, I don't know, helps me relate to my clients in that way. And I can be like the editor for them that I would want for my own books, if that makes sense. Who's your favorite character to write? It can be out of all of your books. Ooh, that's hard. Honestly, there's a character who's going to be in book 3 in this series that I'm really looking forward to writing. They have not been introduced yet. I'm very looking forward to writing them, though. But of characters that you've met, I love Miller from the Anti-Relationship Year. He was fun to write. I love Reed in this series. He's fun to write. And I like Monroe because her sense of humor I just find very fun. Easy to binge, definitely agree. I read it so fast. Well, thank you. I'm glad you liked the pacing. That's something that I feel like I struggle with and I have to really focus on when I'm revising. Did any character change drastically from beginning to end? A lot of the side characters in this first book weren't in it that much, and then I ended up adding them into it more. So a lot of Valerie's classmates, like Daniel, Wes, Beth, all of them, they have more page time now than they originally did. Um, Even Kirby and Monroe are in this more now than they were originally. But I don't know if anyone like drastically changed. Um, Valerie, honestly. Um, I feel like originally the idea that I had for her was she was gonna be this really like cold, ruthless, badass of a character. And then it ended up, I don't know, it just ended up feeling more natural. And I feel like it makes an interesting dynamic that she comes from a family like that, of these like cold, ruthless people. And she's trying to be that, but she's just like naturally not. So her character just kind of ended up, I tried to force her to be this like cold-hearted person, and it just wasn't working, and it just like wasn't natural. And I was like, okay, so that's not who this character is. So that was a surprise for me. She did not want to be what I wanted her to be. Yeah. I love their friendship. I think they're very cute. Don't watch the movie. Yeah, I can't condone that. I'm not going to endorse that, but I'm also not going to tell you not to. If you have a nice margarita while you're watching it, it's enjoyable. How much plotting did you do for the Marionettes? A lot. A lot. It didn't work out that way, but a lot. I outlined this and plotted this and planned this more than any other book, and it still ended up being the shortest rough draft I've ever written. I've ended up revising this more than any other book, so that kind of solidified for me that I'm not much of an outliner, because even when I do it, it doesn't help me. I'm still glad I did it, but yeah. Do you make Pinterest boards? I do, mostly because it's helpful to send to my cover designers. It helps them a lot to like give them the vibe of the book. But I do have Pinterest boards for the Marionettes and Wicked Souls. I think they're both public if you want to look at them. I have one for book 3 too. It's just not public yet, I don't think. I'm double checking. I do. I don't really know how Pinterest works. I don't really use it other than making mood boards for mine. But if you search just Kate's book date on there, I think you'll find me. And I have boards for all of my books. Just some of them are public and some of them are not. I know you've mentioned your favorite chapters before, but since this is a spoilery discussion, can you tell us the specific scenes that are your favorite? Yes. I would be curious to know what your guys' favorites are as well. Let me think about it. Let me think if there's anything off the top of my head. The snake scene at the end was so fun to write. Like I wrote like over 5,000 words that day because I was just having a blast. Which I don't know what that says about me, but I really enjoyed the scenes where my main character is not having a good time. Someone said that earlier, the scene in the cemetery where Reed kind of confronts Valerie about being in his room. I liked that one. I just have book 2 on my mind right now, so I keep thinking of those scenes, and there's some scenes in book 2 that you guys are gonna like. I'm very excited. I'm trying to even remember what happens in this first book. Oh, the scene where Valerie first turns into a vampire. She doesn't know what's happening, and she like attacks Beth, and Reed has to stop her. I liked that one. I can't remember what chapters, and I know what video you're talking about, where I said a couple of chapters that I liked. I can't remember which ones I said. The scene where the queen is ripping out people's teeth, that was one of the first scenes that I wrote, and that was what got me like really excited about writing this book because I loved writing that scene. I'm just like completely blanking on anything that happened in this book. Let me check the comments to see if you guys say anything that'll remind me. Miller. I love Miller. Can you tell us any scenes you had to cut that you were sad about? My problem is I never remember. Once they're cut, they leave my mind forever. I do remember there was something that I had to cut only because I remember talking about it in a vlog and I was like, oh, I have to cut the scene and I don't want to. But now I can't remember what it was. I think for this first book, because it was so short with the rough draft, it was literally half this size for the rough draft. I added half of these. So I don't think I really cut much. And if I did, I think I just like combined scenes. So I don't really think there was anything I had to cut in this first book. There was stuff I had to cut in book 2, but not in this book. I never read romance before the Pact series. Ever since I've been binging contemporary romance because I love Terry so much. I love to hear it. I'm so glad I turned you on to romance. I didn't really read romance very much before these last couple of years. I don't even consider the first book in the Pact series to be a romance, but I love hearing it. Thanks for reading the books too. Valerie's mother. She's interesting. See, even though she's like a questionable person, I find her very interesting and I like writing her. Oh yeah, Val finding Connor in bed with the vamp. That was a very dramatic scene to write. That was fun. I was so relieved not everyone is straight. Yes, I got that question a lot before the book came out, if there were any characters who were not straight, if there was any representation, and you will find even more in book 2. Definitely. The initial vampire turning. I think if there's any others. Honestly, any scenes with Valerie Monroe and Kirby when they get to have their little banter, I enjoy writing that. Dialogue's always my favorite to write. And then any scenes that have like banter with Reed and Valerie, I enjoy. They're fun. Sorry, I'm trying to like refamiliarize myself with everything. I do like the scene where Valerie is trying to take her tests and she's like trying not to kill the person next to her and has to go to the bathroom. For whatever reason, that just like visual, I really like. All of my favorites are like not fun parts of the book. Oh, and I like this scene where she's in the hallway with Candace and Reed just like rips out her throat. Like that one too. How inspiration comes to you in dreams. I don't really get inspiration from dreams because I don't remember my dreams. Yeah, I don't really know. I always get that question too, where I get inspiration from, and I couldn't tell you where any of this comes from. I couldn't tell you. I wonder if Val's mom somehow protected Connor. That's a theory. Pete was really shocked by the sex scenes. It was enjoyable to watch the reactions. Did you read it aloud to him? That's funny. I've gotten mixed feedback on that. I've gotten people saying, I was shocked by how steamy this was. And then I've had other people be like, this wasn't steamy enough. So I've gotten both sides of it. Don't let him read book 2 then. I feel like the study session they had on the treadmills gave us lots of foreshadowing. Did it? Did it? I will say there's a lot of foreshadowing in this book for things to come in this future books. So if you want to do some digging to see what you think's going to come, there's a lot of hints in this first book that you might not notice till later. I'm happy you read the book too. Thank you. The Vam needed to die for her going after Connor. It was satisfying for me. I enjoyed that. He just really never read anything like it. Well, yeah, I don't imagine he's out here reading steamy romance books, but you don't knock it till you try it. I like the scene when she realizes where the poison's coming from. I like that one too. Thank you. I feel more like myself now. I feel like I have two personalities. One when I have dark hair and one when I have blonde hair. And I'm glad to be back to dark hair. Not that it was super blonde before. But I have tons of stuffed tabs that I think are hints for what's to come. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to do with books. So I'm interested when people give me their theories. My mom had so many theories to share with me after reading this book. I loved the scene where Val has to get the info from the human. Can't remember her name. Really thought that showed her character. That was a scene I had to add. No, that's not a scene I had to add. That was a scene that was in the rough draft, but then the scene of her going to her house is a scene that I had to add. But I agree. That was part of the purpose of that. I felt like that would be a good way to show that part of her character. Book 2 comes out December 7th of this year. So just a few months now. Which is nuts. Because this book literally just came out. I don't know why I did that to myself. But you don't have long to wait. And I did that for my longest book to date. This is definitely going to be my longest book to date, and I gave myself the shortest turnaround time for it. Don't know why I did that. It's fine. What was your mom's reaction? Did you take out the spicy scenes? No, not for this first one. My mom loved it. I wasn't expecting her to. She doesn't read fantasy. And she texted me and she was like, oh my God, I loved this. I've never gotten that reaction from her of any book ever. And it's the vampire one that she liked. Never would have guessed that. This one I feel like it's pretty tame. Spicy scenes wise. She wants to read book 2, and I've been putting off sending it to her because I don't want her to read the spice and that one because that's a big step up from this one. So maybe I'll just like, I'm thinking about just taking out the whole chapter before I send it to her. Because I know she's going to read it no matter what, and I can't stop her, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised because she really loves the show Vampire Diaries. We used to watch it together when I was in high school. So this is kind of her thing. But any other kind of fantasy she doesn't like. It comes out the day uni ends for me, so I'm going to binge it. That's exciting. Is it like totally done with uni or just like this year? That's good timing. I've never released a book in December before, so we'll see how this goes. I've heard iffy things about whether or not you should do that from other authors, so we shall see. And I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to release book 3. It's a never-ending process. Let me see if I have any other questions that people send on Instagram. I forgot about those. Somebody asked me, did you plot out the whole series right away? We kind of touched on this, how I'm not good at plotting, or just things change. So I'm good with the endings. I knew how the first book was going to end. I knew how the second book was going to end. I vaguely know how book 3 is going to end. So I had these like major points and like beats in the overall arc. The little nitty-gritty stuff in each individual book, I didn't know. I just knew like book 1 was going to be focused on initiation. Book 2 was going to be focused on something you'll learn about soon. Book 3 is going to be focused on something else. So I had like a vague idea for each book, a vibe, if you will. Comes out during the start of finals. Exciting. Well, good luck on your finals. I definitely do not miss that about being in college. I haven't been into reading fantasy books in ages. I just bought book 1 because you wrote it and I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm in the same boat as you are. I have not been reading fantasy books. So I kind of wrote my taste in fantasy books because I wasn't enjoying any of the ones I was reading. But yeah. If you have any recommendations for fantasy books that kind of feel like this one, let me know. That's what I like to read. Thanks, Paige. Feel kind of like Scarecrow-esque. Fits the vibe. Are you releasing all the rest of the books next year? Absolutely not. No. So book 2 is going to come out in December of this year, and then book 3 is going to come out sometime next year. But I'm expecting book 3 to just be an absolute monster of a book and like incredibly long. So I think it's going to take me a really long time to write it. And I'm also planning on releasing a romantic suspense next year. So next year I'm expecting romantic suspense in book 3. We'll see if I manage to write more than that, but I really don't think I'll be able to publish more than those 2. And then book 4 would come out the following year. There's going to be more space between releases for the rest of the series just because the books are getting so much longer, and these ones are coming out quickly because I actually wrote them like a while ago and purposefully planned it this way. I didn't write them that fast. Based on the way book 1 ended, I have a feeling I won't want to wait for book 3 either. No comment. Did you have any trouble naming your characters? Like I said, Kirby and Monroe already had names because they were characters from a book that I wrote years ago. Valerie, I really like Valerie's name, Valerie Darkmoor. I just felt like it had a nice ring to it. So, but like choosing main character names is usually hard for me because I really want to get them right. And then Reed's name was hard because I knew I wanted some kind of like fancy, pretentious, royal sounding first name. And then something I could like give like a non-douchey nickname to. So, but I didn't want something obvious. And there were so many books that had already taken names that I'd considered. And I really didn't want to use a name that was in another like popular book, So I spent a lot of time trying to come up with his name. And then even then, I know there's another popular series where their guy character's name is Reed, but he was the problem child in this book. I find it hard to write fantasy, which might be weird, me being a kid, but world building's not my strong suit. Not weird at all. World building is hard. That is the hardest part for me, 100%. Do I have tequila? No. Should I? I have a Truly. That sounds nice. Come visit me and we'll go get tequila. I really like the blood magic system. I'm super excited to see more. Thank you so much. I struggled so much with that too. Huge shout out to my beta readers. They are the reason the book makes any sense. It was really hard with all of the world building and the magic stuff because like it all made sense in my head, but I didn't know what wasn't going to make sense to a reader and like what questions people would have. So having other readers come in and ask me questions was like fundamental to figuring out what needed to be explained, for sure. Yes, I want tequila. Now we all need tequila. I'm pretty sure the last time we did one of these live streams for a book, we just did shots of tequila on the live. You're right, I should have gotten tequila. What aspect of the world you built are you most proud of? I don't know. I liked how the magic system worked out. I have like very particular taste when it comes to fantasy books. I don't like super confusing, abstract, complicated world building. So for the magic and for magic systems as well. So I wanted something that was kind of unique to me, something that made sense, something that was kind of cool, but it wasn't super out there, super complicated. So I like how the magic system turned out. Paige, you have started a trend in the comments. This is all your fault. Same. I have so much work to do, but it's fine. Okay, I'm gonna pull in a couple of the more questions from Instagram. Actually, a lot of them are just comments of people being like, the ending! If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. Page. I'm not gonna read that. Um, was there anything you didn't see coming while writing the Marionettes? Hmm. I just have such a poor memory that makes questions like this hard. Was there anything I didn't see coming with writing the Marionettes? There's plenty that I didn't see coming with the series as a whole because I didn't know everything that was going to happen in the series as a whole. It took me a while to figure that out. But with this first book, um, originally I wasn't going to reveal that Valerie, the whole like necromancer storyline in this book. And then my beta readers convinced me to include that in book one. So originally I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting how hard it was to juggle this relationship. It's been something I've been working with in book two as well. Um, Trying to juggle the like complicated feelings Valerie has with Connor and now with Reed coming in and trying to like develop both of those relationships at the same time in a way that's believable, and especially with book two and the way that book one left off, it's become so complicated. So I didn't expect that to be one of the biggest challenges, but that has been a pain. One of my favorite parts of the book is different types of witches. It's so cool to see. Thank you. Originally, there were actually more kinds of witches, and then I ended up narrowing it down to the ones that we have now. So, and I just kind of like combined a couple of ones. So it was interesting to kind of play around with the different kinds of magic that I wanted. You'll see quite a bit more of the other kinds of witches in book two. This has been interesting. It was interesting for sure. This ending was super surprised. It's book two ending a cliffhanger as well. You should know me by now. Yeah, book two does have a cliffhanger at the end. But a lot of people, not a lot of people, some people felt like this cliffhanger didn't resolve enough, and it felt like it was like cutting off at a point where it was still in the middle of the story. And book two does pick up right where this cliffhanger leaves off. Book two's cliffhanger feels different, where it's basically the majority of the things that were left unanswered in book one are answered in book two. And then the cliffhanger at the end of book two is really going to spur book three, if that makes sense. So it's still quite the cliffhanger, but it's a different kind of cliffhanger. That's helpful. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Do you think you'll do any Halloween reading vlogs? That would require me to read. So if I, recommend me some books I should be reading in October. I don't even know. Any horror books, any spooky books. If I find something I'm excited about, maybe we'll do a reading vlog. Blood and Buzz is a good name for the cafe. Thank you. I went back and forth on names for places a lot. It was originally called something else. I can't remember what it was. That's always hard for me. I'm not good at naming things. I'm not good at coming up with like clever names. Already pre-ordered book two. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I hope you love it. I think it's a fun time. About calling him Reed after her near-death experience and him not questioning it, I thought of Fallen. I can't even remember if I read Fallen. I definitely don't remember anything like that in that book. Remind me of, I think I've definitely at least seen the movie. Does that happen in the book? I know what book you're talking about. I remember that they were popular a while ago. I forgot about that. I thought the first time that I called him Reed. I love that little detail. See, that was something I knew from the beginning I was going to do. And it was something me and one of my beta readers like fangirled about when it finally happened. It's like one of my favorite tropes in a book. I love when books do that. And then I've had so many people not understand it. And I've had emails, I've had DMs of people like bringing it to my attention because they think it's like a flaw in the book. And they're like, I think you missed this while you were editing. I'm like, no, it's supposed to be there. I have been shocked by how many people didn't understand that. I wasn't expecting that at all. I thought it was a pretty common known like trope. Like it's one of my favorite tropes in books, and so many people have been like, "Why? I don't understand." I wasn't expecting that at all. I wasn't expecting that reaction at all. Do you know how many words your books would be all together? Like in this series or all of them? This first book is like 71,000 words. Wicked Souls is about 100,000. I'm honestly thinking book 3 might be like 150,000. I don't even know. Uh, I think I don't know why I still remember these word counts. The Anti-Virginity Pact was like 84,000, and I think the Anti-Relationship Year was 66,000. I loved the eerie atmosphere at the school. The imagery was very vivid. Was that something you had to consciously add in, or was that there from the start? Definitely a conscious thing I was working towards. I really love atmospheric books, and I really wanted to give off that kind of like gothic vibe to it. So that was definitely something I purposefully tried to include in the book. So I'm glad that it came across that way. I wouldn't say it's too spooky, but her soul to take is kind of creepy with demons and stuff, but also pretty spicy if you're into that. I feel like somebody else recommended that book to me. I'm gonna have to check it out. That does sound good. I do like demon stuff. I loved Valerie's relationships, family, friends, etc. Thank you. Yeah, that was fun. That was definitely something I focused on more in this book, was trying to give her strong relationships and not have it just be focused on like romantic relationships. So all the friendship stuff was fun. It's also one of my favorite tropes. See, I love it. Like, I eat that up whenever that's in a book. And I thought it was well known, and I guess it wasn't. Or maybe I just didn't pull it off. Maybe I just didn't do it well. But it's one of my favorite tropes for sure. Let me see if I got any other questions on Instagram that I missed. I've gotten some questions that I've answered before, so I don't want to be like super repetitive if you guys have seen the videos where I talked about these things in it. And Fallen Loose keeps getting reincarnated and falling in love with Daniel, but they're cursed. Yeah, I remember that's the plot of the book. I definitely saw that movie. I still can't remember if I read the book though. Maybe I've just heard enough about it that I feel like I read it. I'm working on a horror book, but not out yet. That's exciting. I don't feel like I could pull off writing horror. This I feel like is like dark fantasy with a little bit of horror elements. I feel like that's as close to horror as I can get. I don't think I could write a flat out horror book, but I love horror. Congratulations on your new book. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I hope your writing is going well. Any tips on writing poetry? Always want to try staring at the screen or describing a picture. That's hard. When I'm writing poetry, it comes in waves where I'll like write a ton in 1 month, and then I'll go like a year without writing any at all. So I don't know if I have very good advice for that. I usually get inspired. I like to go for walks. It's cheesy, but I like to be out in nature, listening to music, that kind of stuff. Reading other poetry kind of gets me in that right mindset. But for me, at least, I can't force poetry. You might have answered this, but was the bird scene always at the beginning? Yes, that was always at the beginning. It was the first thing that I wrote about this book. The first line has always been the first line, and it never changed. That always happens with my books, actually. I never end up changing the first line. So I don't know what it is. First and last lines pretty much never change from the rough draft. Sorry, I'm looking at the Instagram questions. Someone asked what inspired Kalla's storyline, but I'm not entirely sure what they mean by the question. I always get questions about like what inspired this and what inspired that, and I don't know. I don't know where these things come from. But you'll learn more about Kalla later. I know I've gotten a lot of questions about her. She'll come up in future books. You will learn more about her for sure. I joined the live late. Did we already talk about the creepy snake scene? Welcome. You're perfectly fine. We talked a little bit about it, but I'm letting you guys lead the discussion so we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm just chilling. Thank you. Yeah, I really like the name Darkmoor as well. I felt like it fit pretty well. I spent a lot of time before I started writing trying to come up with like the perfect name. So I have a list somewhere of like 100 different last names and like 100 different first names, and I was just like fitting them together and like just trying to figure out which ones sounded best. But once I decided on Darkmoor, it didn't change. So I don't think any of the names changed once I decided on them, except for like a minor character, because it was like the name sounded too similar to another character, so I changed it just so no one would be confused. But I think all of the names have stayed pretty much the same throughout. I like the scene in the coffee shop where they're working on their project about Wendigos. Thank you. That was added later. Definitely. That was a scene that was added later. Both to learn some more about that, get to develop some characters some more. We get to see some more of Daniel and Kirby and the coffee shop. I just think it's very cute. The whole like little town vibe. I have a very good visual of it. What was the easiest and hardest chapters to write? Sometimes I have chapters that just come out like fully formed the first time, and other than like moving around some commas, they really don't change. And then some are not that easy. Like the first chapter really hasn't. That's actually not true. The first chapter changed a fair amount because I had beta readers tell me what they were confused on. So I just went in and like clarified things. Like something that happened with the first draft of this book, everyone who read it, I had quite a few beta readers read the beginning, everyone thought Valerie was a vampire. And I couldn't figure out why they thought that, because the first scene is her doing magic. I'm like, it's clear she's a witch. Like, what are you talking about? Every single reader thought she was a vampire, and I couldn't figure out why they thought that. I couldn't figure out how to clarify it. And it turned out it was just because of one word in the first chapter when she's talking to the first year who like hasn't adjusted to the timetable. And she says like, I haven't adjusted to the vampire timetable. And everyone thought she was a vampire because of that line. So I had to change that word so people wouldn't think she was a vampire. So that's a tangent, but that was just like a memorable thing from the beginning, because it took me so long to figure out why people were thinking that. But every single person who read this book, that's what they thought with the first chapter. Anyway, your question. Hardest chapters to write. Oh, when we were talking about scenes that I like earlier, I really like the Blood Moon bonfire scene. I just like the vibes for that one as well. When she finds out about the poison in her blood, that whole conversation with Reed, I like that. I think that was hard to write. There are a couple scenes that it just like took me a while, and I took some like tweaking around in order to get the scenes to work. So like the scene, this is kind of like a random scene in the middle where they're done with the first wave of trials. They're hearing about who gets to continue on, and Valerie's like sitting there trying not to eat everybody. That scene originally, like, it didn't serve as many purposes, so it just kind of felt like it could be cut. So I had to add a lot to it in order to make it relevant enough to keep. I remember like struggling with that scene and trying to make it interesting so it wasn't like boring. So I struggled with that chapter. I struggled with any kind of steam in this book, trying to decide how far am I going to take it in this first book? How steamy is it going to get? So it wasn't that it was hard to write. It was like I had to decide where I was going to draw the line there. And any scene that is like heavy on world building. So like the chapter when Valerie's talking to Reed after she turns into a vampire, and we get all of that like world building and stuff. It's a hard balance where the chapter is still interesting, it still moves along at a decent pace, and it's still, you know, entertaining to read. and it gives you the information you want without it being like really info dumpy and just like forced. So any kind of scene that was heavy on world building was hard to get that balance, giving you all the information that you need without it just being like boring and telling you everything. My number one fear is snakes, so that scene was definitely nightmare inducing. It was great. I have no idea where that came from. I was a little bit afraid of myself after I wrote that scene, but it's one of my favorites in the book now. Thank you so much. Oh, I should say, because I always get questions if I'm gonna do like signed books and stuff. I am doing signed books for book 2. They're in my shop on my website this time. That way I can just keep it all in one place instead of like the Google Forms like last time. So you can pre-order a signed book now if you want to. It's on my website. I love the night schedule for their classes. That set the world building so well right from the beginning. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was another thing that I struggled with the night schedule. I think I talked about this in one of my vlogs. Like, I don't know what terminology to use. I don't know what wording to use. Like, do I say it's today? Do I say it's tonight? Like, how do I talk about things when they're starting their day at like 5 o'clock at night and then 1 o'clock in the morning is the same day, but do I say it's the next day? So the night schedule gave me a lot of trouble trying to figure all of that out. But I agree. I like the atmosphere that it sets for the books. I don't remember what author-tuber quoted this from, what other person, but the concept was that ideas are living things that are waiting for someone to develop and use. That's, yeah, from a book. It's my favorite book. It's from Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, or at least she talks about that concept in there as well. Very good book. I have it right here. Would recommend if you're a writer. One of my favorites. It's my first book every year. I reread it every year. Be honest, if you were Val's friend, would you be annoyed or irritated with how weird Val was acting? I feel like Valerie and I wouldn't be friends. I feel like I would want to be her friend. I feel like she wouldn't like me. So I feel like she wouldn't be friends. No, I wouldn't be annoyed or irritated because I'm the kind of person where I'll disappear off the face of the earth for like weeks at a time. And my friends just kind of know, oh, she's busy. Oh, she's off in her own world. Like, she's fine. So, and I like don't even mean to do it. I just like lose track of time. And I don't even realize that I do it. So if she were to just like disappear for a couple of days, I wouldn't think anything of it. Like, all of my friends, we could go weeks without talking and I won't think anything's wrong. It's just normal. Wow, I'm slow. I was really confused by the read thing when I was reading, and when you were just talking about it, I was still confused. I've been pondering it since it just clicked out. You're not alone. I got a lot of questions about it. It's okay. That's funny. Hey, Lauren. Long time no see. How you doing? Did you picture any actors for the characters in Marionettes? Yes, I have a couple on my Pinterest board. I showed them in one video or another, but it was a long video, so I don't blame me if you haven't seen it. Not necessarily like I actually picture these actors as them because of how they act. I just like these pictures of them. Let me see if I can pull some up. Not for everybody. I'm really bad about this kind of stuff. But this picture of Adelaide Kane, this is how I picture Valerie. This is how I picture Monroe. And then this is how I picture Valerie's older sister, Calla. But those are the only ones I have. I'm not good at casting at all. Mostly because I don't know actors' names. She does. Paige can confirm I disappear. I only confirm she's alive when she laughs at the TikToks I sent her. True. That is our main form of communication. We send each other TikToks, but we've talked about this in my vlogs too. It's because I literally have no concept of time. So days will pass, weeks will pass, and it won't even like occur to me. I just like don't even realize time has passed, and it's been a week since I've talked to my friends. It's not my best trait, I'm aware. About to graduate, I've been so busy. That's so exciting. Early congrats. Hope school's been going well. Are you guys still like all online? I feel like we were talking about something and I got distracted, but now I can't remember what it was. Guess we have been on here for like an hour. Thanks for everybody who's been here the whole time. I'm just chatting. I feel like we haven't caught up in a while. Someone asked what was the hardest thing about writing this book and whole series. I feel like we've talked about this. Have we? I don't want to be repetitive and bore you. World building, hardest for sure. And setting everything up, foreshadowing properly so that everything that I want to happen in future books makes sense and has been set up for in earlier books. But that was mainly a struggle with book one. I feel less pressure with that as I've gotten further into the series. Mostly in person, but my department is very small, 8 to 10 people, most of my classes. Got you. That was like how small my program was too. That's exciting though that you're in person. I would not have been able to deal with the online nonsense that everyone else is doing right now. It's how I'm with my best friend who lives 4 hours away. We go forever without talking, but when we finally see each other, we just pick back up where we left off. Exactly. It'll just like occur to me one day. I'll be like, oh, I haven't talked to them in a while. I should text them. But I did make time to read the Marionettes. Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I think I've gotten through all of the questions that people who couldn't be here for the live sent in. So let me know. Is there anything you want to know about the book, about book 2, about the series? Anything in particular that you want to talk about with me or other people in the chat who have read the book? Let me know. The plot twists were so good when Valerie turns after the blood exchange. I audibly gasped and almost threw my Kindle. I was not expecting that at all. The writing mystery elements come easily to you. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. But did it come easily to me? I don't know. I wish I could be like, oh my God, yeah, I knew everything that was going to happen before I sat down to write it. Like this was all planned ahead of time. Like I'm so like smart and organized. And a lot of the things that happened surprised me as they were happening. And that's what made writing the book so fun. So I really did just write the book that I wanted to read and I was just having fun writing it. So a lot of the twists kind of came out of nowhere. Although that one in particular, knowing she was going to be half, I knew was going to happen, which ended up being a pain in my butt trying to figure out how I was going to make that work logistically. Because I had to like have them start the blood exchange for them to find out about the poison, but she couldn't continue it. Otherwise she would have turned right there and I needed things to happen in between before she could turn. So it was like a weird situation. But did writing mystery elements come easily to me? I think because I read a lot of thrillers and mystery books. I like plot twists. And I like books that have multiple plot twists because even if you can call one of them, usually you don't see the other ones coming because you're not expecting there to be multiple ones. So that was something I really wanted to do with this book, was give you more than one twist. So even if you guess one of them, hopefully at least something surprises you. Did you always plan to have Connor be such a mess in bed? I disliked him after the vamp scene, but after reading their sex scene and him being a dud made me dislike him even more. I'm trying to remember if that was in the rough draft or not. I feel like it was underwhelming in the rough draft, and then I like amped that up more in later drafts. But so it wasn't like always planned, but it was never meant to be good. What chapter in book 2 are you most excited for us to read? I literally just did a sweep of the book where I like moved chapters around and I split them up differently, so I can't remember like what chapter is what chapter anymore. But the first chapter I think will be fun. It's very like dramatic and picks right up where the cliffhanger leaves off, so that'll be fun. I love the ending for book 2, so I hope you guys don't hate me too much after that one. And then there's a scene, I think it's pretty early in the book. For some reason, I want to say like chapter 8 or something. And it's just got some good banter. We got some good moments. And yeah, it was really fun. I think it's one of the more lighthearted scenes. It's a pretty dark book. Book 2 has a lot of death and blood and violence. It's very gory. We got a lot of bodies piling up. So this scene in the middle is just funny and fun and a little relief amidst all of the dark scenes. So I think I'm most excited for you to read that one. It was actually a shorter scene. And then my beta reader was like, I would read 30 pages of this scene. Can you make it longer? And I made it longer. So, any more ghost stuff coming up? I enjoyed the scene with Samantha Hawthorne and the cryptic warnings. Yes and no. Like, yes, ghost stuff will continue to come up in the series, but I don't think in particular there's anything in book 2. Samantha Hawthorne is mentioned in book 2, but I don't know if there's any ghost stuff in book 2. I can't remember. I can't help it. Does everyone hate Connor besides me? No, one of my beta readers, I swear, defends him to the death. And she's the reason why a lot of things in book 2 ended up the way that they did, because she forced me to be more sympathetic towards him. Not that I hated him. I definitely understand him, and I definitely feel for him. He's got an interesting arc in book 2, so I'll be interested to see what you think. Yeah, I feel bad for him as well. New characters you are excited about. You do meet some new characters in book 2. Quite a few. You get to see quite a few characters return that were interested in or introduced in book 1. But the character I'm the most excited about comes in book 3, but they are mentioned in book 2. So you won't meet them until book 3, but you'll get a hint in book 2. That's all I'm gonna say. There's also a lot of other characters in book 3 that I'm excited about, but I'm trying to think if there's anyone in particular in book 2. You'll meet other witches and whatnot outside of the Marionettes a lot in book 2. So you just kind of get a broader sense of the world in book 2 and things that happen outside of the estate and the academy. So that was fun about book 2. I felt bad for him with the vamps and being human and caught up in all of that. I don't care for him with Val though. No comment. He was an interesting character to deal with in book 1 though. Everyone was confused about him. I think I had like 5 beta readers read the beginning of the book. And for some reason, there were so many things that just weren't clear right off the bat. Like everyone was like, I don't understand what her relationship is with Connor. And it wasn't until halfway through the book that they even realized that he and Valerie were together. People thought Valerie was a vampire. I had so much confusion at the beginning of the book and I didn't know where it was coming from. So that was like the biggest thing I had to edit with the beginning, was clarifying Connor and Valerie are together. Valerie is not a vampire. I wasn't expecting that kind of confusion, but that was pretty funny. Trying to think if I can give you any kind of good sneak peeks or anything for book 2 without spoiling too much. If you have any specific questions or if you have any theories about book 2 or things that you would like to know, let me know and I'll decide if I can answer them or not. I'm just double checking if any other questions came in on our Instagram story. I love seeing your take on vampires and the world and this social hierarchy was so unique. Thank you. I appreciate that. I spent a lot of time on that too. That was fun though. I basically just got to like build my perfect vampires and everything that I liked about vampires and everything. So, because I feel like there's so many shows or books where I love them, but there's just like certain elements of the world building and stuff that I didn't like. So I kind of got to change all of that with this book, which was fun. I was so frustrated when she went back to him, like, no, girl, you're better than that. I think someone is a double agent. Interesting. So is the queen plotting against Val or trying to get her with the prince knowing what she is? Interesting. You will, not in book 2. You'll learn a lot more about the queen, though, in future books, which I'm interested to get into her, or I'm excited to get into her. The bonus scene that I was talking about that I wrote from Reed's point of view, we get to learn a little bit more about her in that scene, too. So she's an interesting character for me. I like her. She's one of those characters, like, you're not supposed to like her, but I like her. I usually wait until a series is complete to read them, but I love your writing so much. I will impatiently wait for the next books for you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I totally get wanting to wait for a series to be complete, though. My problem is, like, if they come out so far apart, I just forget about them. I forget everything that happened. So then if I don't reread it, I jump into the next book confused. And so half the time I just don't reread the book, and then I never continue with the series, even if I loved the first book. So I understand for sure. Would you ever write a thriller or a horror novel? Probably not just like a straight up thriller or straight up horror, but like the contemporary I'm working on right now, I feel like is more like romantic suspense. So it's still a romance book, but it has like thriller elements to it. So I feel like that's the closest I would get to a thriller. And then this series, I feel like it's kind of like dark fantasy that has like horror elements to it, and it's going to get darker with each book. So I feel like that's as close as I would get to horror. I don't know if I would ever write a straight up horror novel, which is funny because thriller and horror, like, that's what I like to read and that's what I like to watch, but not what I like to write, apparently. I could be wrong, but I trust Val's mom more than I do the queen. Interesting. Was your writing process different than your pack series? Yeah, definitely. Just way more planning, outlining, world building, stuff like that. Just way more work outside of the actual writing, because those are contemporary. And a lot more rewriting and revising. These books have just been so much more difficult to write than the Pact books. I say that. I rewrote the Anti-Virginity Pact a lot. But the anti-relationship year was pretty easy. And not that much changed when I revised it. I can talk. These books have been giving me hell revising them. I basically rewrite the entire thing. See, I trust the queen more than the mom. Interesting. I think she knows way more than she's letting on. There are so many characters in this series that know more than they're letting on. That I can definitely confirm. That's funny. I've been getting, like I said, I've got 2 main beta readers for the series, and they have such opposite opinions. Like, one of them trusts the queen more than the mom. One of them trusts the mom more than the queen. One of them likes Connor more than Reed. One of them likes Reed more than Connor. So it's helpful to have both of their perspectives. I feel like they help balance me out while I'm writing. Give Dino and Max a kiss from me. Will do. I'm surprised they're not. Oh, hi. Are you sleeping? Oh, come on. Speaking of, come here. Oh, come here. I don't know where Max is, but he's not happy. I'm sorry. Do you want to sit on the desk? Do you want to get up? Let's not do that, Dean. Why do you always do this? I also trust the queen more than her mom. Her mom is terrible. Interesting. Yeah, you'll learn more about both of them in book 2. Not everything. You'll learn more about them for sure. Do you find drafting or revising more fun? Different parts of both. I don't think I like one more than the other altogether. Like, if I'm drafting for too long, I start to get tired. It starts to get old. If I'm revising for too long, it starts to get exhausting. So I enjoy both of them for periods of time. And then as they're taking longer, they become less fun. So revising is fun because you get to see the book really start to come together. It starts to look a lot better. So it's fun to see the book improve. But then drafting is fun since I figure out so much as I go. Like, I'm surprised by things that I come up with, and I'm surprised by all of the twists and stuff. I'm experiencing it kind of like you do when you're reading it. So that part's fun. I don't know. Revising is fun though too because there's still like missing puzzle pieces when I'm drafting. I don't figure it out until I'm done revising. So it's fun like getting those aha moments like, oh, I know how to fix it. Those are probably like my favorite moments in the whole process. The aha moments. My favorite writing assistant is here. He is also my favorite writing assistant. He's been sitting with me all day. Now all of a sudden he's camera shy. Max is also in here. I don't think you can see her. She's sitting right there by the books. I can't stop thinking of that scene where Reed kills that person and leaves them to be publicly seen. I've been theorized ever since. I love that scene. I think that was added kind of later in the game. That wasn't in the rough draft. Him killing them was the rough draft. Him stringing them up on the fountain was added later. I know this is early, but are there any potential spin-off series? I've definitely thought about it. It'll depend on how long this first series ends up being. I still have no idea where it ends up going, but there's just so many characters in this series that I love and that I think are interesting. So, and I really like the world and I really enjoy writing the books. So I could definitely see that happening. I have no idea what characters I would end up doing a spin-off series for. So definitely potential for it. I don't know what it would be at this point. He was not a bad person. No comment. Her being in his room while he was busy. Yeah, that was a fun scene to write as well, for sure. That seems to be a favorite from what I've heard. At least that's a favorite of people on TikTok, but that's not surprising because that's a popular thing on TikTok. But I think that was always in the rough drafts too. I think that was always a part of the story. I'm trying to think if there were any other scenes that were added last minute or after the fact. I think a lot of the scenes that were added after the fact are like the less interesting ones. They're the ones that are in between that were like needed for development. All of the like crazy things that happen in the book, all of the big moments, the major beats, the twists, the chapters that were the most fun. That was the whole rough draft. It was all of the major plot points, all of the twists, and everything in between is what I had to go back and add. Because apparently I was just really impatient writing this rough draft, and I just skipped over anything remotely slower, and I just wanted to write all of the fun stuff first. Was the cliffhanger always part of the plan? Yes. I knew the ending. That was one of the first things that I knew about the book. I had like a couple of major beats that I knew. I knew the beginning. I knew she was going to end up being half vampire. I knew about the snake. I knew about the cliffhanger. I feel like those were like the major things that I knew. Right off the bat. Don't know why. Don't know where that came from. But same with book 2. The ending was the first thing that I came up with for book 2. Which is weird. Usually endings are hard for me, but with this series, it's been the first thing to come to me. They've been like the most fun thing to write too. The snake. Definitely a fun scene to write. Definitely a fun scene to write. Well, we've been here for like an hour and a half. Thanks for chatting with me. If you guys have any last minute questions, feel free to drop them. Anything else you want to talk about? But I think I've reached the end of the questions and stuff. Oh, as I say that, another one comes in. What did you want to keep in mind about Reed when writing him? Like, I think she means like how I wanted his character to come across. It was an interesting balance because I knew Like, he knows a lot more than he's saying in this first book, and I knew why he wasn't saying anything. So it was, like, an interesting balance of, like, keeping him mysterious, but also not, like, infuriatingly so, where he never gives any answers, and also kind of, like, knowing his reasoning and trying to show some of his thought process on the page as much as you can when it's not from his point of view. And you learn a lot more about his reasonings and what he was doing and why he was doing it in book 2. So, mostly what I was thinking about when I was writing him, I was just trying to know his motivations and why he was doing what he was doing, because you don't find out a lot of that in book 1. I saw someone post a reading vlog on YouTube, by the way. Have a good night. Oh, that's exciting. I didn't know that. Very cool. I can't wait for book 2. I need an arc. I'm actually not doing arcs for book 2. I did get that question the other day. At least as of right now, I'm not planning on it. I don't think I'm going to do any arcs. But you don't have that long to wait anyway. It's coming soon. I might do like a sneak peek on my website. I'll put like the first few chapters up or something. Excited to read more and so happy to see your growing success. Thanks, Lauren. I appreciate it. Congrats on getting close to graduation. We ever collaborate? Do you mean like co-writing? I feel like I have such a specific writing process that I don't know how well I would work with others. I think it would be interesting to try, but I can imagine I would not be fun to work with. I would not wish that on anyone. I think that's going to be it for the live stream. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for reading the book. I appreciate it. It's been fun chatting with you guys. Yeah, I'm going to call it a night. Have a great night, morning, wherever you are, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.